Hi, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, and welcome to the #1 community for foreclosure, income, and credit. So I've enlisted the help of my beautiful wife to deal with this topic of divorce foreclosures. As an investor and a top producing real estate agent here in New Jersey, I can share with you that over the last 18 years, I've seen everything under the sun when it comes to couples and their issues and the reasons and causes of why they may be going through problems in a divorce. But as we all know, the statistics show that over 40 to 50% of Americans file for divorce every year. That's a very high number compared with many places in the world. Also, there are three main causes that are on average cover why people are getting divorced. Number one, infidelity. Someone basically has broken the trust that was between the two of them. Number two, money, financial problems. And number three, lack of communication. So our goal basically is to be able to start a series, and that's going to be our marriage bootcamp, to be able to help many couples hopefully save their marriages from going through some of the turmoil that divorce can cause. Divorce can affect not only you as both parties, husband and wife, but it can also affect your children for years to come and really damage them. So it's something that you really have to think about, and all factors have to be considered when you're dealing with the severe and the actual sensitive topic of divorce. One thing is clear, oftentimes when it comes to the finances part of it, the main component that actually causes the rift oftentimes is, as you can guess, the house. The house is actually the main issue that I've seen in so many hundreds of families, almost over 1,000 that I've helped all across the U.S. And that this is where everyone is fighting for, and this is really the bone of contention. Even if you all are staying together, if you go separate, you deal with an attorney, the main fight is going to be over that property and either separating whatever equity is there, or separating whatever ownership interest is in the property. And so properties and homes go hand in hand with people's financial problems when they're actually going through these issues when it comes to divorce. So I want to be able to open this up to be able to help and give you some insight, so that even if you're going to speak to an attorney, you all will have a little bit more equipped knowledge and also position as to how to view each other, view the situation, and what you can expect if you're going to see an attorney, but also give you time to be able to consider and weigh all options. So we created a marriage bootcamp that's inside ForeclosureHacksAcademy. And the goal is to actually peel back the curtain and help many couples not only avoid divorce, but also avoid foreclosure and turn their situation around. Many times, as we know, divorces can be like a death. It's like a death sentence because you actually are separating from someone that you were joined together with. There are so many pieces that come into play. I've seen so many couples go their separate ways after we've resolved their foreclosure situation, or I've seen houses, literally a house and the burden of a house, tear families apart. And we really want to try to see if we can help as many people as possible to avoid that. And so with divorce, it's actually a result of broken relationships. It's a result of all these expectations and all the life that you all have built together has been severed, either by one party or both. And so what we want to do is we really want to see if we can share. We want to be able to share the things to look out for. And this is coming from someone who's dealt with people from all states, all across the country. And I want to give you and share with you insight of what I've seen with other couples, what I've seen with other people. And maybe you're thinking your situation is unique to you and not realizing that there are other characteristics and other things that are actually similar. And so when it comes to having a house cause you to go apart, we want to basically give you the tools and what you need to not only deal with the stress of the foreclosure and deal with the stress of the real estate, but also take a step back, and before you make the decision to divorce, see if you all are meant to be, that you can stay together. Because you shouldn't allow a house to tear you apart. You shouldn't allow a physical thing to be able to tear apart the bond if you really truly are meant and you really have a strong bond to tear that apart. These circumstantial things, these valleys in life, they can cause that. So we want to be able to help. And I'm going to share with you just a few things that we go into in the marriage bootcamp, and that will actually hopefully shed some light, not only on the tangibles, but also the intangibles. So the first thing we talk about is money and money growth. That's very important because many times we actually just focus on going and getting a job and getting income, but we don't talk about growing that income. And this causes some of the stress. We're working and exchanging our time for money and not positioning ourselves to be able to have money work for us. You know, everything is based on Genesis 8:22. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest. So your job is meant for you to be able to go and get seed. You're not supposed, that's not your harvest. You're going to your job to be able to get seed, meaning that you're going to your job to be able to get money and income that you will actually bring. Yes, take care of your expenses, but also invest a portion of that or sow a portion of that into things that will grow for you. We're going to touch on that. Number two, we're going to touch on money management. This is a big one because a lot of times we find that we fail the stewardship test. And this is something that we've all gone through. Sometimes the couple can actually be well-meaning and working together, and they just don't know about certain things that can position them better and that will help them not only grow their money, but also manage money in a way that won't put them in a strenuous position. So money management is very important for us to actually touch on, and we do go into that in the marriage bootcamp. Third is comparison. This is a big one. I've found that many times that as I've come and talked to couples, they've had so much built up time of observing other people, the Joneses, the grass is green on the other side, that comparison is built up in them, and they don't appreciate what they have. They're not looking at what they have and building what they have. So comparison is a very, very much a danger and also a threat that you need to be cautious of, and you need to get some insight on how to deal and manage with that. So we go into that as well. Number four, social media. This goes without saying, sometimes people broadcast too much online, and we will share with you tips on how to not do that and tips on how to do it. In my family's a media family, so my wife, my twins, they're very much, I don't know, maybe some people may know my wife is an influencer, and we've been able to have a public life where she has a public life or we have a public life, yet we're very private, fiercely private. So what happens is that you're able to have a balance, and that's what we're going to share with you some insights to help you how to deal with being on social media or managing social media and not having it infiltrate your relationship. Number five, this is one that is very important for young couples, people who haven't purchased yet, and even if you're in a situation where you own the house for a long time, it's good to actually tweak your mindset and start to look at things differently. And number five is buying the right house and also buying in the right location. Very important, because a lot of times the purchases that I've shared many times in our network and in our community and our channel, that we purchase either where we bought too high, we paid too much for the property, or the type of property that we bought. So we want to touch on that with you. And if you have an existing property, you need to know what to do with the property to help you not only get past the foreclosure, but help you to be able to get in a better position financially. Number six is craziness. So this is something that, it goes without saying, there are a lot of crazy people out there. And of course, people's craziness are formed by what they've been, kind of giving themselves to as far as exposing themselves to. Sometimes you go into, some issues where you're trying to resolve a foreclosure and deal with an issue where you can help people navigate through. But one person is just crazy, and there's nothing you can do to stop the craziness. The person has to be able to pull back from the craziness in their mind, in their actions, in the way that they're doing and they're seeing. Sometimes it takes a blow in life to sober up. And I feel like there are ways that you can learn. You can learn through experience, or you can actually learn by instruction, by wisdom. And you guys know I'm very big on wisdom. So sometimes it's good to actually be sober-minded and sit and think and process what's being shared with you, because it's a blessing that God put someone in your path to be able to share information with you. And so you have to be able to recognize that. But I think that the craziness has been a big factor. There are people who have lost homes, and some of the stories I can share with you all regarding the equity that's been lost. Millions of dollars in equity, millions of dollars. Families washed out because of one person's craziness. So it's something to really look out for and check. Seventh is unforgiveness. This is a huge one. Many times couples actually together and things happen, and they just, one person, it could be over something that happened years ago, it could be something recent. It's unforgiveness. So we delve into that in the marriage bootcamp to be able to help you deal with unforgiveness. Next one will be bitterness. Bitterness is very key. It kind of goes hand in hand. It's an offshoot of unforgiveness. The unforgiveness causes that. And so you can't be unified with someone. You can't stay in a house and fight for a house together if you guys can't talk. So many couples, some of you guys who are members of the academy and members of the network, you know that you've gone through situations. I've had to be there right with you, and the spouse won't talk, you guys are not on talking terms, or they just don't want to cooperate. There are people who have gone into foreclosure and because out of spite. So this is a big topic. There are people who will let their house go into foreclosure. One I'll never forget is a guy here in Bergen County. It was a lady staying in the property. She contacted us, and she was staying in the house with her daughter. And when I went to see her, she had converted the garage into like a spare, apartment, so to speak, small apartment. But it wasn't legal. She didn't get the permits for it. So I asked her, I was like, okay, well, how are things, like, what are your plans? And she said, well, I would like to do something, but I'm stuck. I can't do anything. She said, my husband's a realtor, and he knows the ins and outs of things, and he's moved out, and he's purposely letting the property go to foreclosure out of spite against me, and he's not factoring in our daughter. Things like that happen, on both sides, whether it's the man or the woman, it happens. So bitterness is the root of that. So it's something that you have to kind of maybe get some insight from other people so you can see what's going on. Next one will be attorneys and third parties. Third parties could be you and I, we're just communicating. I'm here, you're watching me. I'm a third party. I'm not in your family. So, but the thing about it is that there's a way that you have to actually prepare yourself to deal with attorneys or third parties. And that's something that I find a lot of people need help with. So many couples have been taken advantage of by attorneys over the years, in my estimation. And 9 times out of 10, when you have something like a divorce going on and the property's involved, whether it's marital residence or whatever the laws are in your state, the attorneys make out. And so you need to be prepared, and you need to also basically, how do you go and sit with an attorney that you never met, that you Googled, and sit down and then trust them with something like that? Something, just think about it. You just go sit with someone, you don't have any reference. Even if you have a referral, it's still, your situation is still unique. I know people who have dealt with attorneys that all their families have dealt with, and they've had a nightmare situation without that attorney. So it's not just attorneys and third parties, because you have people that have other interests. They have motives that are coming at you, and you need to know how to separate the wheat from the chaff, how to separate what's coming at you and what questions to ask. Be prepared, so you can sit with an attorney, you're well versed on what you expect, or you're in a better place than just coming from a place of brokenness and sitting in front of an attorney and then taking whatever they tell you, and just doing it. The next thing will be child care, and I would say daycare, dealing with the children. It's very delicate. I myself, I'll be sharing this in the boot camp, but I have had a childhood experience with this, where my parents got divorced, and when I was around 11. And I think that damage was stayed with me all the way up until I was 30. And so when you're in these situations, like I said, sometimes you just don't have a choice. Sometimes you have to do the divorce, depending on what's going on. But if it can be avoided, sometimes it's just a matter of people putting their selfish interests aside and factoring in not just themselves, but also their children. So we're going to be talking about that. That's a very key point for me, because I've had personal experience with that. Next one will be, my wife and I will be sharing on experience relationships. And that is a unique term that we've coined that's worked for us over the years. I'm going to delve a little bit more into it. But many times people actually deal with relationships on the surface, and they deal with love, or the way they see love, or the way they feel affection, through things that are given to them, physical things. And when those things are not there, then the love dissipates. And this is one of the reasons why, the house, things like that, are all external things. They're meant to help you have a life comfortable and enjoy life, but they're not meant to define you. So we go into that, we share about the experience relationship and what we've actually built over the years to be able to help have a fulfilled relationship and fulfilled movement forward, together. The next one will be perception. So perception is very important, and this goes to the root. This goes to what your belief systems were, what you were exposed to growing up, what your expectations are when you're going into the relationship, and what you expect. Because we get married and they say, for better or for worse, we say all these things at the altar, and then when life hits you, then you change. And it goes back to your perception, what you perceive things to be. Not only before you were a little girl or a little boy and you say, I'm going to get married someday, but when you do take that step, what the future holds. You just have to kind of gauge your perception and also tweak it so that you can have the right expectation and preparedness for whatever happens in life. And we're also going to be sharing about a very important point, and that is basically keeping God first. You have to understand that every relationship needs a foundation, and without Jesus and God as your foundation, you're starting off in a situation that even if you have money, you really are exposed in the wrong way. You want to make sure that you actually have a proper foundation so that whatever happens in life, whatever your aspirations are, and as you start to move through this valley and dealing with whatever real estate problems you may have right now, you want to make sure that you have a good firm foundation so that you guys can actually not only weather this, come through, but then also have a fulfilled life afterwards. So we look forward to actually sharing all of these and more within the marriage bootcamp with you guys in the Foreclosure Hacks Academy. It's free to all the members, so feel free to actually click the link below. And I actually look forward to being in there. My wife is going to be sharing some insight as well, so it should be really exciting. And I look forward to seeing you guys inside the marriage bootcamp. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please email me at AskRindeNetwork@gmail.com. Also, let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about divorce foreclosures? What do you think can help couples? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.